It's 2010. You're at a dinner party in Manchester. Someone mentions they drive a Toyota Corolla. The room goes quiet. Someone coughs politely, because back then Japanese cars were the sensible choice, the boring choice, the "my dad drives one" choice. Then something changed. German cars became aspirational. The BMW 3 Series, the Audi A4, the Mercedes C-Class. Suddenly, everyone wanted a slice of that sleek European prestige, even if it meant the finance was tight and the repair bills were terrifying. But here's what's interesting. Something is happening on British roads right now, quietly, steadily, without a big announcement or a flashy marketing campaign. Drivers are coming back to Japanese cars, and the reasons why tell us a remarkable story about money, about trust, about technology, and about a car industry going through the most turbulent decade in its history. So let's talk about it. The history. How Japanese cars conquered and then lost Britain. Visual, archive-style footage and newspaper headlines from the 1970s, 1980s, British Leyland factories, narrator, VO. To understand why drivers are returning to Japanese cars, we first have to understand why they left. And that story begins way back in the 1970s. Britain's car industry in the early 70s was a bit of a disaster, frankly. British Leyland, the company behind beloved names like Rover, Austin, and Morris, was plagued by strikes, poor build quality, and vehicles that seemed to rust before you'd even finished paying for them. Then the Japanese arrived. Toyota, Honda, Datsun, which later became Nissan, began quietly flooding UK showrooms with cars that started every morning, didn't dissolve in the British rain, and cost less to run. By August 1973, Japanese cars had captured a meaningful share of the UK import market, and British car bosses were furious. In fact, British Leyland's boss at the time publicly called for outright bans on Japanese imports, claiming Britain was, and I quote, "sitting back like a goose being plucked." Dramatic? Yes. Accurate? Painfully so. Throughout the 1980s and 1990s, Japanese manufacturers became smarter. Rather than just exporting from Japan, they began building cars in Britain. Toyota opened its plant in Burniston, Derbyshire. Honda set up in Swindon. Nissan built its famous factory in Sunderland, which became one of the most productive car plants in all of Europe. These weren't foreign cars anymore. They were British-made, built by British workers, bought by British families, and they were everywhere. The Toyota Corolla became the best-selling car of all time globally. The Honda Civic was a byword for dependability. The Nissan Micra was in every supermarket car park in the country. But then, something shifted. Visual, cut to glossy German car ads from the 2000s, showrooms, aspirational lifestyle imagery. The 2000s brought a new wave of desire. German premium brands invested massively in making their cars feel aspirational. The BMW 3 Series, the Audi A4, the Volkswagen Golf. These weren't just cars. They were statements. They told the world you'd arrived, that you were doing well. And British drivers, enjoying the pre-2008 boom years, were very happy to make that statement. Finance deals made it easier than ever to drive something German. PCP, personal contract purchase, meant you could be behind the wheel of an Audi for a few £100 a month and worry about the balloon payment later, much later. Japanese cars started to feel functional, practical, uninspiring. The word most people used? Boring. But here's the twist. The qualities that made Japanese cars seem boring in the good times, they became exactly the qualities British drivers desperately needed when the good times ended. The Great Reckoning. Why the switch is happening now. Visual. UK petrol stations with high-price signs, supermarket queues, news headlines about cost of living. Narrator. VO. Let's talk about money, because you can't discuss this topic without it. The UK cost of living crisis, which really began biting hard from 2021 onwards and hasn't truly let go, fundamentally changed the way British people think about cars. Fuel prices surged. Insurance premiums climbed to record highs. Inflation pushed up the cost of everything from MOTs to spare parts. And suddenly, the question wasn't, what car makes me look successful? It was a far more urgent one. What car can I actually afford to keep running? Research from Close Brothers Motor Finance found that 7 in 10 UK dealers reported customers actively seeking cheaper vehicles. 2/3 said buyers had become noticeably more cautious. And a survey from Carmula found that 1 in 5 cars in the UK, roughly 8 million vehicles, were being considered for sale because owners simply couldn't afford to run them anymore. 8 million cars, potentially up for sale, because running them had become too expensive. In this environment, the calculus changes completely. Because here's the thing about owning, say, a German premium car out of warranty. It isn't just the purchase price, it's the complexity. Modern German cars, and this is well documented in owner surveys, are engineering masterpieces. But masterpieces with a lot of things that can go wrong. Complex electronics, sophisticated transmissions, turbocharged engines with numerous small components that, when they fail, cost a fortune. And warranty data doesn't lie. According to WarrantyWise, which analyzed real claims data across hundreds of thousands of warranties in 2025, Land Rover recorded a claims rate of nearly 49%. Nearly half of Land Rover owners made a warranty claim. The average repair cost when something went wrong? Nearly $950. Contrast that with Toyota. Claims rate of under 9%. Average repair bill under $450. Lexus, Toyota's premium arm, had a claims rate of under 6%. Suddenly, that boring Toyota doesn't seem so boring when it's saving you thousands of pounds a year. Visual, split screen, a gleaming BMW in a garage, bills piling up versus a Toyota outside a terraced house, no drama. And this isn't cherry-picked data. The what car? Reliability survey, one of the most comprehensive in the UK, polling over 32,000 owners across 227 models, crowned Honda as the most reliable car brand in 2025. That was Honda's first time at the top in 7 years, with an overall reliability rating of 96.6%. Toyota came fourth. Suzuki, another Japanese brand, came third. Meanwhile, at the bottom of the table, several brands UK drivers had enthusiastically been buying for a decade. The message was hard to ignore. The hybrid revolution, Japan's secret weapon. Visual, Toyota Prius on a motorway. Fuel gauge showing full, charging port free, no drama. Narrator, VO. Here's where it gets really interesting, because reliability alone doesn't fully explain the resurgence of Japanese cars in Britain. There's a second, equally powerful reason, and it comes down to one word: hybrid. Cast your mind back to 1997. While British drivers were buying Vauxhall Vectras and Ford Mondeos, Toyota quietly launched the Prius in Japan. A car with 2 power sources, a petrol engine and an electric motor, that could switch between them seamlessly. The car charged its own battery as you drove. No plugging in, no range anxiety. Britain laughed largely. Celebrities in Hollywood drove them. They looked like a UFO. They seemed faintly ridiculous, but Toyota was playing a very long game. For over 25 years, they engineered, refined, and perfected self-charging hybrid technology. While other manufacturers were busy turbocharging small petrol engines or making big promises about electric cars, Toyota was quietly building millions of hybrids and learning how to make them last. And now, in an era of 170 per liter petrol and a government mandate demanding cleaner vehicles, that investment has come home to roost. The Toyota Yaris Hybrid can return over 60 miles per gallon in real-world driving. The Honda Jazz Hybrid averages over 55 mph. The Toyota Corolla Hybrid, a family hatchback, routinely achieves well over 50 mph without a charging cable in sight. For a British family doing 10,000 miles a year, the fuel savings compared to an equivalent petrol or diesel car are measurable in hundreds of pounds annually. And crucially, these hybrids don't need charging infrastructure. No range anxiety, no queuing at a broken charging point on the A1 in January. You fill up at any petrol station just like always. The electric component does its work silently, invisibly, magically improving your fuel consumption in traffic and at low speeds. This turned out to be exactly what the British public wanted. Visual, graph-style animation showing EV anxiety statistics, broken chargers, news headlines about EV teething problems, because the UK's relationship with full electric vehicles has been complicated. The government's zero-emission vehicle mandate pushed manufacturers to sell more EVs. But consumer anxiety about charging infrastructure, range, resale values, and the sheer cost of entry created what industry analysts called a chasm, a gap between government ambition and public readiness. In that chasm, Japanese hybrids sat waiting, perfectly positioned. Toyota's electrified vehicles now make up over 76% of their total European sales. Think about that. 3 in every 4 Toyotas sold in Europe has some form of electric motor. And unlike many manufacturers who scrambled to develop EV technology recently, Toyota has been refining this for decades. The reliability data backs this up. Toyota's hybrid drivetrain has one of the lowest failure rates in its class. Many UK Honda Jazz and Toyota Yaris hybrid owners report driving 100,000, 150,000, even 200,000 miles with no significant drivetrain issues. That's not marketing copy, that's owner testimony, backed by warranty claims data. The numbers don't lie, what the sales data tells us. Visual UK motorway, various Japanese car models in traffic, upbeat background music. Narrator, VO. Now, let's be precise here, because this story deserves nuance. When we say drivers are switching back to Japanese cars, we're describing a trend, not a revolution. The UK car market is complex, and Volkswagen still outsells everyone. German premium brands remain deeply embedded in British culture, but the direction of travel is unmistakable. Toyota sold over 150,000 vehicles in the UK in 2024 alone, a significant figure for any single manufacturer. In the same year, Toyota Motor Europe hit an all-time sales record, with their electrified vehicles growing to 74% of total sales. Across Europe as a whole, Toyota has been the second best-selling passenger car brand for 4 consecutive years. The used car market tells an equally compelling story. Research from WarrantyWise shows that the Toyota Yaris and Honda Jazz are holding their value remarkably well. Even as the broader used car market softens, the Yaris in particular scored 92.8 out of 100 on the WarrantyWise Reliability Index, the highest score of any car they assessed. The 4th-generation Yaris achieved a perfect score in the What Car? Survey, 0 owners, 0 faults, in 2 years, and car health consultancies are now openly advising UK buyers. When in doubt, focus on proven brands. Toyota, Honda, Mazda, Suzuki. A guide from Car Health's 2026 buyer analysis put it bluntly. Japanese manufacturers dominate reliability rankings. Japanese cars handle high mileage better, 150,000 plus miles common. European cars struggle beyond 100,000 miles unless impeccably maintained. The word is spreading. It's spreading through car forums, through social media, through the bitter experience of owners who've faced $2,000 repair bills on German cars they thought were aspirational, only to end up selling them at a loss. The cultural shift. What British drivers actually want now. Visual. Young UK driver, family SUV, everyday life montage, school run, supermarket, motorway. Narrator, VO. But there's something deeper going on here than just finances. There's a cultural shift in what British drivers actually value in a car. For about 15 years, British car culture was heavily influenced by what you might call prestige signaling. The badge on the bonnet mattered. The 3-pointed star, the 4 rings, the blue and white roundel. These weren't just cars, they were social shorthand. They told other people something about where you stood. That culture hasn't disappeared, but it's lost some of its power. Partly, it's generational. Younger British drivers, millennials and Gen Z, are, broadly speaking, less impressed by brand prestige than their parents. They're more likely to research reliability data online before buying, more likely to read owner forums, more likely to calculate total cost of ownership rather than just sticker price. Partly, it's economic reality. When you're spending $2,400 a year just to keep a car on the road, as research shows the average young British driver does, every penny of unnecessary repair cost is a penny taken from somewhere else. And partly it's a quiet trust that Japanese manufacturers have rebuilt through sheer unglamorous consistency. Honda's marketing director in the UK doesn't need to do much work right now. When Honda is announced as the most reliable car brand in Britain by the country's most trusted consumer automotive survey, that does the marketing for them. When Toyota owners report driving their cars past 200,000 miles without drama, that does the marketing for them. There's also a technology argument that often gets overlooked. Modern Japanese cars, particularly in the mid-range, are genuinely good. The Honda Civic e-HEV isn't just reliable. Automotive journalists describe it as one of the most complete driving experiences in its class. The Mazda CX-5 is praised for interior quality that punches well above its price point. The Toyota CHR has been redesigned into a genuinely stylish crossover that no longer screams sensible choice. Japanese manufacturers listened. They realized that boring but reliable wasn't enough anymore, and they've invested in design, technology, and driver experience while keeping the reliability that was always their foundation.